Beginner's Guide to Using a Language Learning Notebook. So guys, we'll get straight into it. I'm not going to waste your time. It's crazy that I actually have to say this, but some beginners don't actually use a notebook for language learning. And if that's you watching this video, don't worry, because I'm going to help you. So for the people that do, you also probably don't know what the point of one is exactly or how to use a notebook properly, and I'm going to help you with that. So this video is a beginner's guide to having and using a language learning notebook to kind of improve your progress. And yeah, if you do like this kind of educational content, definitely hit the subscribe button, guys. It does really help the channel. And with that said, let's go. So why is a notebook useful overall? There's literally a bunch of reasons, and we're going to talk about how to kind of implement all of them later, but a couple for now are, it's really concise to have all your notes in one place. It's good for journaling, progress tracking, vocab lists, jotting down important notes, and just general practice, and literally a heap of other things. So yeah, not having a notebook, and a physical notebook by that I mean, does stall your progress because you don't have a consistent place to actually write or study notes or practice journaling or anything like that. So now that we know some of the benefits, let's get into the actual important part, which is how should a beginner actually use a notebook. By the way, these are two types of notebooks that you could perfectly use. This one's got kind of like the rings as the spine, the ream, whatever it's called. I don't really know what it's called. And this is like more of a book one. Both of those are fine. That's actually mine, the top one, but yeah. So how to use a notebook. Before anything, you need to get a notebook. So here is what I'd recommend. Go to, if you're from Australia, you know what I'm talking about. You can literally go to like Woolies or Coles in the stationery aisle, and they have notebooks you can buy. They're like $5 that's in Australian dollars as well. So like, I presume if you can get them in other countries for like £1.50 or like $3 or something. But yeah, it doesn't have to be fancy. If you're not Australian, literally just go to either like, if you have I can't really say the equivalent of that because you won't know what the shop is, but go to like a supermarket like Walmart or whatever you have. They probably have them there. Just go somewhere. You can order them online if you want, but like you'd be surprised. Like the actual supermarket with groceries like usually sells notebooks. You can find one there. And don't spend a ton of money. Spend like a couple bucks or like $5 or like if you've got a really, really inflated currency, it might cost like $30, but that's because, you know what I mean? Like just don't spend that much. It's literally just a notebook, sorry. Treat it like a notebook. Doesn't have to be fancy. Definitely don't use a notepad though. A notepad is, when I hear notepad, I think of like all of the pages on like you know what a notepad is, right? Those are kind of not as good because the pages are more easily torn out and it's just kind of whack. Have like an actual book thing. And yeah, don't use random pieces of paper as well. That makes me freak out. And having a digital notebook is not as good because the kind of impulse to just copy paste things isn't really good, and it's just better to have a physical one. It's been proven writing notes is better for your brain. It's better for your mental health. Just have a physical notebook, trust me. And this notebook that you have now is for writing down anything and everything to do with the language you're learning. So here's what you should be writing down in it. We're going to talk about how to actually do all these things on the next slide. But first and second things you should be writing down is first, your goals. Put your goals into the front of your notebook. So if your goal is to learn a specific language, say your goal is to learn Italian, write that down as your goal, write down why you're learning it, do a SMART analysis. I've already made that video, so I'll have it pop up on the screen right now of your goal to make sure it is good. And yeah, that needs to stay at the front because that is why you have the book after all in the first place. Second thing you need to write down is your habit tracker. Of course, your habit tracker will change constantly as you become a better language learner. You can assign yourself new habit trackers as you go, but set your first one right now. I have actually already made a video on habit trackers, so I'll also have that pop up on the screen right now, and links in the description to both of these videos so you can check them out later. But basically, a habit tracker is kind of a thing you write down where you write down what your habits are for every single day, and then you can tick them off as you go. So yeah, you can put that into your notebook, or you can put it on another piece of paper, I guess put it into the front of the notebook and like kind of shut it so it's like in there, like a bookmark, you know what I mean? Excuse me. This is the 5th video I've recorded today, so yeah, my voice is going a little bit, but yeah, draft your first habit tracker into the front of the notebook and do that. Now that you have these two basic things down, here is everything that you should be using the notebook for and how. So things I put in my notebook. Note taking, surprise, surprise. This is particularly useful when understanding new grammar, and I do have pictures on the next slide, so I'll show you them all in a second. Don't worry, but when you're learning a new grammar rule, like how to conjugate verbs, tenses, case, like how to decline adjectives, anything like that, kind of having them written down somewhere is really good, and it should be in a notebook as well, not digitally, because when it's digitally, you'll get the impulse to copy paste, and it's just better to actually write it out by hand and have somewhere where you can go back and read it for reference. So yeah, taking notes is really important, and you should do it in your notebook. Different people will take different amounts of notes. If you're more of a note-taking, like learning style, you'll take a lot more. If you're more like a person who likes to listen to lectures, which honestly, that's kind of me a little bit, you'll take less notes, but everyone needs to take some notes. There's no one that doesn't benefit from at least writing some things down. Vocab lists as well. So a vocab list, by the way, is just a list of words and their translations if they're like new words, for example. Whether you're using the input repetition method, which I've talked about in my reading video to memorize unknown vocab, or you're just making general lists of like numbers, colors, etc. For reference, having vocab lists is extremely useful and they should go in here as well. Journaling too. So journaling is basically just freestyle writing, like writing your own paragraph or whatever in that language. And it can be gratitude journaling, which is like gratitude journaling on its own is useful. It's basically where you write about like things you're grateful for. Daily entries, like almost like diary entries. You just randomly talk about your day. Short stories, you can literally just make up, like write sentences like, I remember when I was first learning Italian, I would just write sentences like Io sono l'uomo, which is I am the man, because that was the only thing I knew from Duolingo. So yeah, literally anything. Journaling and writing stuff out is good for you. It's output and it will help you learn better. But yeah, this is also really good for looking back on progress. So if you date your work, which you should, so like you write the date down that you wrote the stuff on the page, you can flick back and just see how much better you've gotten over time. And that's really good for improving your motivation as well, seeing your progress. And it's just good overall just to do that. So yeah, I'd recommend you do that. Also, when you don't know a word, for example, if you're writing a paragraph and it's like, damn, you can write it in English and underline it and then look it up later, and then you can try and rewrite it if you want, or just like realize what it was. Add it to your vocab list above. That's one you can do as well. And yeah, overall journaling is good. A few other tips as well are add an index page if you want. You can number the pages. You should organize it into sections if you want. You can use micro sticky notes. I'll have a link in the description to a website on actually properly organizing your notebook, which was really useful. But yeah, you can scrapbook as well. So if you want to put in things in the notebook that are like just to do with the country and the culture, you can like stick them in as well, or you can draw pictures, that kind of thing. You can also just put anything that interests you in the language in as well, which I'll show you on the next slide that I've done. And yeah, guys, if you do have any other tips for notebooks and stuff, comment them down below. It could be useful for someone else looking at the comments. But yeah, overall, put anything of value in so you can find it again, and that's kind of up to you to decide. So here are some pictures of these are all pictures of my Italian notebook. I'm getting a drink, 1 second. Various pictures of various pages in my Italian notebook of all things I've done. So I'll just kind of go through them all. Here is like a paragraph I wrote at the very kind of near the start of when I was learning Italian. Obviously not the actual start because I can't write a paragraph. It was probably like a month or two in. I don't even know, maybe like 3 months. But yeah, made this page first. That was kind of cool. Here's an example of a vocab list. So as you can see, I've got a bunch of words. I think I was reading Arturo's Island, L'isola di Arturo. And I had like all of the words I didn't really know with like their translation, so I could have that vocab list. That was cool. As you can see here, I was learning, you might not know what they actually mean, but I was learning prepositions. So this is like an example of writing out grammar and just note-taking, because Italian does have kind of complicated prepositions. Tenses as well. Italian has a shitload of tenses, so yeah, writing all those out was good. Here's one of the first pages in the book when I was learning like the words for the and how you use different words for the, if it's masculine or feminine, that kind of thing. By the way, this is just kind of like visual learning, just showing you the kind of things that I write down. Here were like days of the week and like seasons, so like you can write those kind of down. Here's a picture of the country of Italy that I drew and some facts about it. That's kind of an example of just writing things down that interest you. That was kind of fun. I just felt like doing that, and that's absolutely fine. I've never actually stuck something in scrapbook style, but you can do that too. Numbers kind of the same as like writing down like the seasons and days of the week, just like helping me learn numbers. And I also kind of drew my own kind of interpretation off of another picture I saw of Italy's political system, just because it kind of interested me to draw. Like I like seeing like the organized lines and like the key and everything like that. So yeah, that was pretty cool. These are just a couple of different things you can do. I guess that's kind of journaling, that paragraph there. But yeah, that's what you can kind of do in a language learning journal, by the way, a language learning notebook, and it is super useful. So bottom line, guys, keep a language learning notebook. It is a must. They're really efficient, they're really convenient, and you will kind of stall your progress if you haven't invested in one. Definitely do it. So hit the subscribe button, guys. I do appreciate it. Makes me feel good about all the effort I put in, and it gives me a dopamine spike when I see the number go up. So give me that dopamine spike. And yeah, comment any questions down below. Happy to answer any of them. Links to my website and Discord. And yeah, have a good one.